So basically, theories of value, right? You hear all this stuff about the definitions of money and 5 functions of money, and it's yardstick, stored value, exchange mechanism, all the rest of that. So in the 1930s, when Germany went bankrupt and when America nearly went bankrupt, in America, the state seized all the privately held gold in 1933 so that you wouldn't wind up with a gold-backed economy that was all being run by local gold holders. Right? They got a lid on that right fast as a way of protecting the dollar. In both America and Germany, you also saw an explosion of local currencies, some of which were scrip, some of which were expiring currencies. So you had currencies that would guaranteeably inflate away to zero. You had expiring money. There was this enormous explosion of different currency models. And then the Bitcoin guys come along in 2008, 9, 10, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, all of that know-how is kind of completely forgotten. Nobody ever remembers that there were alternate currency models that ran for a century or 2 centuries before Bitcoin. Big industrial scale systems is a thing called the Weir, which operates in Switzerland. Weir, if I'm pronouncing that, I don't know. So all of these other models, you can tokenize all of those other models of currency just as easily as you could tokenize a stock or a token for a gold bar or any of the rest of this kind of stuff. So rather than seeing, dollar or Bitcoin, what you could see is 50,000 different currencies printed by municipalities, printed by asset holders, food future tokens, electricity future tokens, demand and supply tokens for things like oil or natural gas, all of the things that are currently traded right now in things like futures and options and bonds markets. If you've got some way of pricing those things which is pretty reliable, you can use those things as currencies if you've got the exchange infrastructure to handle it. And let me put in a shout here for AI, because if I've got AI systems to handle the bureaucratic complexity of working in a multi-currency environment, 20 years from now, rather than seeing one currency to rule everything and everything is priced in that currency, I think what you might see is 50,000 currencies that allow people to hedge specific risks that they are exposed to by virtue of holding a whole bunch of gasoline tokens if you're an airline, a whole bunch of energy tokens if you're a steel mill, you have a bunch of titanium dioxide futures if you happen to be a paint company, and the ability to use this stuff like currency. What happens when we start paying airline employees in air miles rather than using dollars?